Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township Public Meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Okay, welcome to the January 15th, 2024 meeting of the East Lampeter Township Board of Supervisors. My name is Corey Meyer, calling the meeting to order. All supervisors are in person, so we'll make votes easy. And we have 3 staff members with us today. Please join me for the pledge of the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Agendas in the back and the sign-in sheet. Haven't signed in quite yet. First on the agenda, we have public comment for non-agenda items only. Anyone here for public comment? No online? Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have multiple items that I'll be reading off. We have 4A, approval of the January 15th, 2024 Board of Supervisors meeting agenda. B, approval of the minutes of the Monday, January 2nd, 2024 regular meeting. We have C, 4C, time extension for township review and action, Mill Stream Inn Stormwater Management Plan 2325, 170 Eastbrook Road. And that's for an additional 90 days for township review and action. This will be the second time extension offered for this application. And action by this board would need to occur on or before the April 15th, 2024 meeting of the Board of Supervisors. We have 4D, time extension for township review and action, Wawa Stormwater Management Plan, 2330, 2132 Lincoln Highway East. The applicant's offering a 90-day time extension for township review and action. This is their first time extension for this application. Action by the township would need to occur on or before the March 18th, 2024 meeting of the Board of Supervisors. We have 4E, time extension for township review and action, Goodwill Land Development Plan 2331, 2353 Lincoln Highway East. Applicants offering a 90-day time extension for township review and action. This is their first time extension offered for this application. Action by this board would need to occur on or before the April 15th, 2024 meeting of the Supervisors. And 4F, we have time extension for township review and action, Rockville Land Development Plan 2332, Rockville Parcel 2. Applicants offering a 90-day time extension for township review and action. This is their first time extension offered for this application. Action by this board would need to occur on or before the May 6th, 2024 meeting of the Board of Supervisors. And then 4G, approval to pay invoices from all funds, total of $947,518.70. There's a few notable significant amounts for that. $444,097.83. The City of Lancaster for quarterly sanitary sewer treatment charges, which is the second and third quarter of 2023. $44,662.25. The Susquehanna Municipal Trust for quarterly workers' comp coverage premium. $11,220 even for ward plan and housing plan consultant fees, and $10,932.83 to ARC Document Solutions LLC for document scanning. And that is our consent agenda. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion by Mr. Denny, second by Mr. Thornton. Any comment from the board or the public for the consent agenda? He said it too, but I took his seconds. I'll get him next. No comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Tara gave me a look. Okay, 5, appointments to vacant positions and reappointments. We have a few, and thank you for these folks for serving. We have an Emergency Services Committee, 2-year term ending 12/31/2025. Bronx Fire Company, alternate representative Nathan Church. Bronx Fire Company Citizen Representative Melanie McHenry. And then 3rd, Whitmer Fire Company Representative Dakota Hoke. And we're still waiting for a Township Citizen Representative. So we have 3 appointments to the ESC for 2-year terms. A motion for that.
The emergency service committee, there's 3 listed, 2 for Ronks and 1 for Whitmer.
Second. Motion made by Roger, second by Ted. Any public comment or board comment on this?
We have people under consideration for the township.
Still looking for people for the township representatives. If you have names, please share with the board, and we'll see who we appoint. And thank you, Roger.
That entails course meetings.
Yeah, it's 1 meeting every other month. Wednesday night or Thursday meeting? Thursday night? Yeah. Good group. Yeah, the chiefs there. You have Tim, you serve on the ESC, right? Good group of folks trying to keep the township safe.
They're working on some committees now on topics that, they wanted to discuss in more detail. So we're looking forward to seeing what the results of that will be.
Okay, motion's made, second. Any other public comment? Board comment? Yeah, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Old business, we have presentation regarding trail project, Strasburg Pike to Oakview Road. Gentlemen, can you introduce yourself? Speakers should work, and microphone. You can walk around as well.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Chris Bauer. I'm with McMahon, now known as Bowman. We are the consultant designing the Strasburg Pike Trail. This is Scott Russell. He's going to be working through the details of the design. I'm going to give you the overview. There we go. Okay. So to give everybody a little bit of orientation, the trail is going to start in Florida.
Yeah, it's a screen. Yeah, you can point.
So you'll start right by the stairs or the trail that goes up to Walmart. It'll go across Fleury Park, down towards the new entrance or the other entrance to Fleury Park at Green Lane Drive. And then it will move up north on road, and it'll go up towards Lincoln Highway on South Oakview Road. It'll meet with the current Western Gateway project. Both projects are coordinated. So a little bit about the Strasburg Bike Trail. It's a 12-foot multi-use trail connecting at Strasburg Pike to the Lincoln Highway. It's going into the Western Gateway project. The project purpose is to promote healthy lifestyle, reduce vehicle trips, and provide a safer alternative to vehicle-based trips. The project need is to further the township's walkable communities goals, link Fleury Park with residential and commercial areas, and then provide a safe alternative to access those locations. So Strasburg Pike Trail goes through Fleury Park, and Fleury Park is a Section 4F resource. What is a Section 4F resource? So Section 4F of the U.S. Department of Transportation Act of 1966 stipulates that the Federal Highway Administration and other Department of Transportation agencies cannot approve the use of land from publicly owned parks, recreational areas, wildlife, waterfowl refuges, or public and private historical sites unless there is no prudent and feasible alternatives to using those resources. And the proposed project plans include all possible planning to minimize harm to the property, or the project has de minimis impact on the property. How does 4F apply to this project? The project is federally assisted funding-wise and requires approval by the Federal Highway Administration, an agency of the U.S. Department of Transportation. Therefore, the requirements of the Section 4F must be met. Flory Park is a resource that qualifies under the protection under Section 4F. There will be temporary impacts to the park in the form of short-term construction activities. And that the construction activities will not impact the use of the park because the trail is in an area that's currently really not used, not accessible. Section 4F temporary occupancy form was prepared and approved by PennDOT for the proposed construction activities. That's good.
Yes, we understand.
Yeah. Project funding, construction grant funding is available is about just a little over $1 million. The current estimate with 25% contingency is $1.2 million. The way this grant funding works is that the grant funding is for construction only. All the other soft costs are borne by the municipality. So that's design. There's no right of way in this project, but there is right of way. Those kind of costs. The project schedule, the bid date is October 24th, 2024, which is just around the corner. And construction will begin in fourth quarter of 2024, extending into third quarter of 2025. And with that, I'm going to have Scott walk through the design details. Thanks, Chris.
Chris hit on the project limits. It starts at Ford Park. It goes all the way to Ford Park here, and it goes all the way to the Gateway project on South Oak View on this side over here. The trail is 12 feet wide. What's being proposed is a pervious trail. It's actually twofold. One is actually safe cost, which is not normally what you think of with pervious pavement, but in this situation it does. It adds about 2 inches of additional stone, eliminates inlets, pipe, and detention basins. It also takes care of that 4F thing about minimizing the disturbances in the park. So very environmentally friendly. It's something that we're using for the Route 30 work along what we're calling phase 3 work. It's a similar trail, so it's something the Conservation District has already reviewed once and approved, and we're anticipating a similar review and approval this time around too. So it's a very, very good product for this type of situation. The trail itself has been designed to meet ADA standards in terms of slopes, both cross slope and longitudinal slopes at 5% grades, 2% cross slopes forward. So it's a very friendly trail for that. And the exception to that is going to be right at the very beginning of the project. There's a steep section here. You got the Walmart up here. There's a trail, a swale, that comes down here. And we have a small section. It's got 9% grade, which is very manageable. It was explained to PennDOT when we had our safety review meeting, and they found that acceptable.
Can you just say, so if someone asked me, is this trail going to be at grade? Obviously, nothing's perfect, but when you think about all that material you're bringing in versus digging and putting something else in, what could you tell me about that? Like, will it appear like it's fairly level with the natural grade?
Relatively, it is. In this area, it's in cut.
Sounds like that.
In this area, there is going to be some cut. For the most part, as we come along the trail, we're following along Walmart, and then we're coming down the property line of the park. for the most part, we're kind of matching the profiles in that area, very little movement or either way. And then when we get into the woodlands in here, there is some cut that's going on there. But it did kind of balance itself out for the most part, although we haven't determined yet.
So quite a few tree removal in that curve there where it turns, kind of has a dog leg where it goes east
Yes, there'll be,
after going south.
once we get up in this area, no tree removal along Walmart's property line, no tree removal. There is one maintenance tree that we're calling to be removed, and then the rest of it is just going to be an area once we go into the woodlands here and get into the Greenland Drive there. So, and this also has kind of jumping ahead, but this area in here is also that's also our steep area for the project. So if you can picture there at the access, the entrance, there's a boulder retaining wall in location where the trails are. So this area here, where we have the boulder walls, right in this area here, the trail's staying above it. We're about 10, 15 feet off the edge of that wall. And we were actually proposing putting gabion baskets, kind of it's not a true retaining wall, but it's gabion baskets kind of hold the trail and maintain the trail. And the reason we're doing that too is kind of twofold. This is very steep up here. The water is coming down this direction. And normally, if we weren't on the pervious pavement, you would put inlets on the receiving end, and then you would pipe it across, and you'd be dumping the water off down a steep slope. With doing the gabion baskets in this area, the water just flows down slope, goes into the trail, permeates through the trail, goes through the gabion baskets, and kind of seeps down the wall. So there's no concentrated flow anywhere along in that area. So it makes it really reduces a lot of stormwater thing and the issues we were going to have in the location. The other thing that it helped us with is, as Chris talked about, there's no right of way now needed for this project. By doing that technique, it allowed us to stay within existing easements and not have to get upstream drainage easements that we would need to do that type of work. So it's again, it's just a process that we'll be doing there. But that's one of the ways that you talk about the moves in the trees. That's some of the impacts that'll be in that area for that. So as we come steep slope here, when you think about 10%, that's 1 foot for every 10 feet. So that's not really that steep for a short duration. We come to the green here, and this is where it stops. And at this point now, the project is scoped that along Green Road, it is going to be biking and walking along the edge of the road. So there's going to have those biking chevron paintings in there, and things along there. And if you can see that, it's actually on the plan. It's really small. I know you can't see from there, but that'll be on the road. And then we come up to here, South Oakview is when the trail picks up again with the 12-foot wide trail. And then it ties in at the end here to Gateway Project, which then goes out to 462.
There's current sidewalk on the clubhouse on the north side, right? From like actually from that like the.
So it's little second side.
Yeah.
There is some easements there, but some of it's also private. And it doesn't really connect anything. It doesn't connect back to the street.
Is there any way to get a path on the south side of the? Yeah, I mean, it's grass and what?
The project's not scoped for that right now. And that's certainly something we can look into, given again what the budget limits are at this point. So that when Chris said it was a $1.2 million project with a 25% contingency, part of that 25% contingency is going to be going into the walls that are right here.
Yeah.
So it's not, we really don't have a lot of cushion with that number, but it's certainly something we can work with the township staff and explore at this point.
How much right away do we have for Greenland Drive there? Even if we were widen the street and put a physical barrier, I mean, at Pashero, it's not safe.
I will admit, we did take a look and to see what's out there. You can get a 6-foot pathway along. You cannot get the full wide. trail and stay within the right of way in that location.
Hmm.
So even if a pedestrian facility was put along here, it would still be sharing the road for the bikes. So I'm trying to think of anything else there. South of the road itself is we're giving the road a diet, which we also are going for Route 30 project. This one, we're going from 36-foot wide curb to curb down to 28-foot wide curb to curb. And then that allows us to put on here the extra width that we need to get the 12-foot multi-use pathway in and still have a 5-foot grass strip in that location. There is no parking proposed along South Oakview, and there's not really any properties that get impacted by not having the no parking in those locations. So that's the intent there, is just to give it a diet, and that allows it. So why that's important too is, again, that keeps us within the right of way. And if, as you look at the gauge that's there, it's steep slope when you get from the back of the sidewalk up to the parking lot. So basically, if you could picture that edge of the sidewalk is also the edge of the pedestrian pathway, and then it goes out towards the roadway, toward the pathway is. So we don't impact all the steep grading that's along the parking lot right here, which we don't want to touch, obviously.
South Oakview, I recall 18-wheeler cab, like a truck, they would park there. Did we post that for no parking, or?
We did, the board adopted an
Many
ordinance
years ago. Yeah.
some time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was addressed that way.
And Scott, what you're saying is, based on the road diet, there'll be absolutely no parking on Oakview.
Right. Once you go to, basically, you're looking at a 12-foot lane and a 2-foot shoulder. Once we go to the 28-foot wide parkway, so 14 feet on either side of the double yellow line. No impacts to drainage, minimal impacts to utility. Right now, we have potentially right about in this area, just at the front of the limits, there might be a guy wire that we're going to have to adjust for a PPL pole. And we have a couple of water valves that are in the sidewalk along Oakview that we're going to have to potentially adjust, although we're maintaining pretty much the same grade as the side. So we might even be able to get away with very minimal adjustments to utilities. So we did design, like we said, to fit everything within existing easements. And our goal has always been to avoid utilities. We do push the sidewalk around one utility pole a little bit, a small little jog out with the pedestrian pathway to avoid the utility pole. As the township staff knows, utility relocations are very expensive, so we strive not to touch the PPL poles if we can help it.
Questions from board members? Yeah.
I'm sure the board would want us to pursue the pedestrian facility on the south side of.
Yeah, I was, yeah.
If there's a way to actually put an actual barrier, in other words, if you could widen the road and put a barrier on road, you might not need as much.
I know that the north side has a lot of stormwater facilities and other utilities that would create a number of conflicts, so.
Yeah, there's also some old growth trees that are in there and some grading challenges with the driveways that would be impacted. The south side, the picture, it is pretty flat through there. I think in one area, there's a shed that's actually in the right of way. So that would have to be relocated. But it would be more than likely a 6-foot path, paved path on the south side would be most like this area.
We on the north side too, there's a mailbox plus or some impacts too.
Yeah.
So the south side is definitely the
Easier.
the path of least resistance.
Yeah. Sure.
In terms of what you were suggesting, even the additional problem with putting curbing on the roadway is that it does introduce all this other stuff that we gotta do. So I think we'd want to look at just an asphalt pedestrian path on that south side, separated by grass.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I've seen you can do an on-road with like a bollard, so water can flow through. It would potentially stop a car, but you could enter and exit it as a pedestrian. So a step above basically a protected bike lane, but on the existing macadam roadway. So it'd be more of widen the road. That limits the amount of, you don't even necessarily, 2 feet grass in between. You get a little wider, and then you could do your bikes in there as well.
That's something we can.
We definitely look at. That 6 foot net side to include a grass strip. There's some way to stay within the right way. The other thing to take into account is this is a major, in this intersection of Oakview and Green. It's a major store in this area too, so we have to maintain that from a stormwater perspective. So anything that we do on the south side, we just have to be cognizant of that, the stormwater that's occurring there. The 72-inch pipe that goes through there underneath to stormwater.
Okay. Good work. Other questions, staff, board, public?
Question, when we did approve the change, when High changed those apartments there, I know we discussed an easement, our official map calls for a road, sort of just going pretty steep incline. I forget if we've got any easements in between that property and the mall.
We did not get any easements there. We did actually look at that early on in the project and just found it wasn't feasible to get anything in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of amenities right there, and there's one of those buildings is pretty close.
Any other questions? Okay, appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda, we have 7A, supervisor. Got, I'm gonna pass it to the easement. I think it's a great idea. Yeah. Well, discussion about future discussion.
Having a discussion about discussions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the proposal with this, the board would be to add this as sort of a regular agenda item where board members could bring items that we would want to discuss and deliberate. So when it comes to public meetings, I sort of have 3 big objectives. One is to inform the public about what's happening in their township. 2, to deliberate, discuss potential township action. And 3, to take action on that township business. This would be to help facilitate that discussion. Often when we have an example would be there's bigger businesses, bigger property owners who, if they want to discuss a potential change, they ask to be put on the agenda. They come, they present to the board. If the board is amenable, then they'll go work with staff and make changes to, say, a zoning ordinance. So we look at the High companies, we look at Rockville Square, we look at East Town Mall. These are the types of things that folks who have resources have access to, and it's great. And we work well with those companies. They're great corporate citizens in our township. Could this be a mechanism by which the small property owner or the small business owner could talk to a supervisor? We often hear things from different ones, and it's, hey, I've heard from 3 or 4 people. This might be worth discussing. If folks from different areas of the township with different networks, we get different things. So the idea would be for sort of have that bottom up flow come through, and then we can discuss it as a part of the agenda. I mean, the public at any time or a board member at any time can offer public comment, but this would allow us to prepare ahead of time, so staff could prep and bring some, other supervisors could do some research. The public could come in if that was an item that they felt strongly about. And I have a few examples of things we could talk about, and then we can discuss whether we'd like to have this as a regular part of our meetings and what items to discuss. So 3 quick things that I have that I would love to discuss at a future meeting. One would be small technical changes to our accessory apartments ordinance and our zoning. We do technical revisions, so staff, when they get feedback from the citizens as well as internally, if something's working, not working, they create a list of changes. We also get feedback, so if we put that on the agenda to discuss, then staff could come with, here's why we made these changes, how many permits have we issued, what feedback have they gotten, what are challenges that they see. Board members could come with what they've heard from constituents. Some things I've heard of, could we allow accessory apartments as a principal use instead of just as an accessory to a single family dwelling? Could we allow accessory apartments in an ag zone rather than right now just all the residential zones? We allow more than one accessory apartment in certain zones. And then the public could come and give feedback on that as well. That's one example. Another example would be, do we want to create rules of decorum for our public meetings? What would those look like? The city has a set of rules. East Hempfield has a set of rules. Manheim Town, each township has those. We currently don't have an official set of rules. We can set one at any time for a specific meeting. So that would be another one. And then an item that I've also heard feedback from residents and board members would be, all right, could we discuss what improvements would we like to see for the township website and township communication? But then we could come prep for the meeting. So the goal would be discussion that could lead to township action, or we could all decide we don't want to have taken any action. But then the idea would be any board member could suggest an idea, either set them in advance or email Corey and he could add it to the agenda or not. So that's the idea, is no surprises when it comes to meeting. We can all be prepped and ready to go, or just sit back and listen.
So question, so the inception of the idea, or the topic, I should say, to be on the discussion item.
Yeah.
Is that something that is happening at a meeting for the next meeting? Or is it happening in preparation for any one meeting? Because I don't know how people would know about it. If we said, oh, this is on the agenda, they wouldn't know it, same as we wouldn't know it unless it was on the agenda.
Yes, the idea would be either we could, so for example, we could choose tonight what we're going to discuss at our next meeting in February. And then
physically put it on the agenda.
And it's on the agenda. Any member, Tim could go online, download the agenda, go, oh, they're talking about accessory apartments in the ag zone. I might be interested in that. Or you could look at it and go, they're talking about rules for public meetings. I'm not interested. And the idea was we would know ahead of time, the public would know, it would be on the agenda, or someone could submit it, email Corey when he sets the agenda, then he would put it on the agenda. We'd also see it ahead of time as the public would have access.
So it's in terms of how it would work, it's essentially to identify them at the meeting before at least.
Yeah.
Although we might say there's a topic that might require more study and, hey, can we put that one on in 2 months? Because I don't know if I'm going to be able to get caught up with that at this point in time. I don't have an example, but I'm just saying, if we always say it's the next meeting, well, we have 2 meetings, so there might not be enough time to really understand.
I think staff will give us direction. Yeah, that we need to pull a bunch of data. We need to look at other townships, might take longer, but.
And in terms of the, say maybe sometimes even organic birth of a topic, it could be coming from a board member. Obviously, we would maybe believe that a lot of that would be our interaction with the public, but it could be something that we have in our thoughts that we've been, observing something, or we see something and we're talking to staff about it. But we get lots of feedback from individuals, and it may be a very specific one. I think all of us have heard speeding as a major issue in all corners of our township. So I'm not dismissing that. You have to listen to folks and say, why is that happening? Can we do anything about it? Is it a road we could do something about? And so forth. It could be a general topic in itself, speeding, because, so the public does understand. Beautiful, newsletter, that the newsletter was great. That could be something that we even talk about in that kind of a situation, so people understand.
Yeah.
And the whole inception of this could be something that's in a newsletter so that people understand that, but I didn't know if anybody else had any ideas about, okay, where are these topics coming from?
I think, I mean, Ethan, your example of other meetings, meeting decorum and meeting rules, you probably got that from watching, the city council meeting or, Scott Russell's township, right? Is he still supervisor, by the way? Yes. Okay. He's Tenfield, right? So yeah, I think conversations with the public, ideas we've had from other municipalities, our trade magazines, there's lots of potential. I would like to keep it to 1 or 2 per meeting, so we're not, extending the meetings a ton. So I think an email to me is appropriate. Touch the timeline on setting agendas. We have to have the agenda, work backwards. We have to have the agenda to Lancaster newspapers by Friday at noon.
Correct.
I see the agenda Thursday-ish to approve it.
Try to do that a little earlier.
So, but I would say, a week prior to that, Wednesday or Thursday would be helpful for me if you have, agenda item that you want to add. So at this point, thinking 1 to 2 items per agenda. We would just have it as a, under new business or supervisors items, whatever. We'll figure out where to put it. Any other questions for Ethan? Staff have any questions? Okay, good. Okay. 8, we have action items. A, bids for green light go traffic signal project, Old Philadelphia Pike.
Yeah, the project that's been under development for a while. This will impact essentially 4 signalized intersections starting at Greenfield Road, going to the intersection at the ramp, the eastbound ramp of 30 Old Philadelphia Pike, Horseshoe Road, and Oakview Road would be the intersections involved, and there'll be upgrades in the equipment, connectivity, and coordination of all of those. We got 4 bids in, the lowest from her signal lighting, and provide bid tabulation there. It will result in a little bit of additional cost above what we had originally planned, but we had originally planned and applied for the grant a couple of years ago. So inflation has affected this sort of thing. So it's $525 additional costs that not originally planned for. But it is a good bid. We don't think doing anything different with the specifications will give us a better bid. So the township engineer recommended that we awarded to OC already $241,975.
The motion for the bids for green light go traffic signal project Old Philadelphia Pike.
Make a motion to award the bid to her signal and lighting company for a total of $241,975.
Second.
Motion made by Ethan,
A
second.
general explanation of what it'll do.
Upgrade the internal control equipment. There won't be any changes to the poles or mast arms. The internal control equipment, instead of having loops in the road, there'll be vehicle detection by camera. There'll be fiber optic connection between all the signals to improve connectivity so that there's the coordination plan should work to move traffic better. There's changes to the roadways in terms of travel lanes or turning lanes or anything like that. They'll all be what they are right now.
Someone runs a red light. This doesn't have anything to do with that.
Red light
Taking
cameras.
pictures of the
No.
cameras.
We don't have the legal authority to do that.
So nothing would happen.
Well, we would hope somebody would be caught.
If someone should ask from the public, hey, we're redoing that, we're putting all new things in. Oh, is this where they take a photo of your vehicle when it goes through a red light?
We are not legally permitted to do that.
Sounds good. Some of the lights that you've seen, maybe some of you have seen it, that really get swept up in wind and so forth. Even and they seem to be newer lights, the backing of the lights are actually breaking and things of that nature. Is this an upgrade to those things?
The backing.
Securing? Okay.
I don't know about securing them any differently, but yes, there would be new backings to essentially make the lights more visible.
And the motion was made by Ethan, I think second by Walter. Any other comments, questions by the board?
The other thing I can add, which I forgot about, is that they will actually be connected into PennDOT's
They're gonna monitor.
monitoring system.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. Good. Yeah.
That is happening as well.
Good.
The other thing I would like to underline is, I forget what the location is, but it doesn't seem like the cabinet at road level is very well protected, so. I'll get back to you. I know I saw one, I said, really? I said, there's no balusters there or anything. It's when you're running, it's knocked off.
At a particular location.
Yeah. I'll tell you which one.
Okay.
I'll find it. I thought, well, if we're upgrading equipment inside the cabinets, the one, if I remember correctly, wasn't all that well protected.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go please.
What does the monitoring, what does the connection with PennDOT's monitoring the two?
It just allows them to monitor the movement of traffic through the signal system. So
They can override things from a global. They can monitor large areas, right, and see data across.
actually doing that now on Lincoln Highway, that whole coordinated system as well. So this would be the second piece of that puzzle in East Lampeter. They'd be able to monitor that section of Old Philly Pike.
I mean, the theory is if there's something going on in the township and there's an area that is backed up, possibly they could, work the lights to free traffic up somehow, but.
Yeah, I think their main interest is going to be Route 30. So,
Sure.
if they
Yeah,
can
keeping
see
that.
something
Yeah.
on Philadelphia Pike that's
Sure.
creating an issue there, they could change timings to help things move along.
Yeah. Good. Motion made and second. Any other comments? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes.
I guess the other thing I should have said about that
Well,
it's like project, so 80% of the cost is being paid by state fund.
Good. Thank you. Anything else on that topic? Okay, no, it's good. 8B, approval of the 2024 fire company activities. I know we have a list of items for workers' comp purposes for the East Lampeter Township for volunteer companies. I did notice just on the list, it's a copy, but they have question marks on the last two items.
Yeah.
Just, okay, so with no questions. Okay, this is the same list as 2023. Okay. For approval, we
Make a motion to approve the list of our company activities as presented without question marks.
second, okay, motion made by Ethan, second by Ted. Any other comments from the public or the board? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passed. Thank you. Approval, authorized sale. This a bid, period about.
Board members and maybe will recall that new mowers were included in the 2024 budget. So we're in the process of disposing of the old mowers. But grass cutting isn't coming up real soon. It takes some time to get these things done. So we have the option of trading the old mowers in or selling them through the municipal facility. So staff feels that, our public works staff feels that if we get adequate value through the trade-in process, they'll probably go that direction. But in the event that they feel that we can get more through the municipal process, we'd like authorization to be able to do that. So that's the request.
Motion to authorize the sale of 2 mowers through municipal bid or as a trade.
Motion made by Ethan, second by Mike. Any board comment or public comment? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, manager's report, codification project.
Yes, codification project, we know it's been on staff plate for a while, but I'm gonna let Eric speak to it. Right.
So we received the draft document from the vendor in February. We found that all of the resolutions and ordinances that we had provided through approximately June or July of 2022 had not been added to the document, as well as all of the department heads went through their individual sections and provided comments. We provided all of that information back to the vendor to provide an actual draft document for review. And that was done in November of last year, and we have had no contact from them since.
Do you have any ability to get them to move a little faster?
We can certainly make calls and see where it is.
Yeah, sure.
We've also had 3 representatives
Mhm.
in that vendor.
Turnover.
And who's the vendor?
General code.
And they're Pennsylvania approved, but they're,
Yeah, they're
Well,
does this.
yeah, okay. Yeah, any way we can help, a letter signed by us, whatever, happy to help, yeah. Okay, any questions to staff about that project?
Looking forward to
Yeah.
getting it online.
Yeah. 9B, right to know request.
Yeah, I just wanted to provide the board with this information. It's all that interesting, but we do get right to know requests on a regular basis. It's about, last year was about 2 a week. Some of them can take quite a bit of time to research on the documents if we have any. Others of them don't take much time at all. So plow through them as best we can. We've been very responsive and at least as responsive as required by the law. And we're sharing the information if you have any questions. We don't, in my view anyway, we don't get compensated for the amount of effort that it takes to go through this process at 25 cents a page. If we have them electronically, we have to provide them electronically, and we can't charge for that. So some of the requests are for commercial entities that, just want a whole bunch of free information that they can then use for their business opportunities. And, I think that's something that the various municipal associations are working on as possible changes at the state level. So see where that goes, if it goes anywhere in the future.
How many are police related?
Quite a few. We get a number that are requesting reports, and they're all denied.
Right.
Because they're exempt.
Yeah.
from the law.
Yeah. But you still have to get it. You still have to go through the process of denying it. It's a letter.
If it's very clear that they're asking for police reports, I don't even.
You don't even, okay.
bother with the research.
Okay.
It's-
No research, but you still have to respond. That's.
Yeah, we have to respond.
Yes, yeah, that was my point. Yeah, right.
It's interesting that there was a spike in 23 of denials. Was it a police? Do you have any idea? I'm just saying, what could you learn from this? What have we learned from it? Is there ever a communication issue that might be the reason why we're getting them? But I certainly could tell that there's probably businesses just farming this information they can use for their own purposes, but.
We have been working on an upgrade to the website where the right to know information is located to try to identify what things are exempt.
Yeah.
So hopefully people read that and see, okay, well, what I want
Yeah.
is exempt, I'm not gonna get that.
Right. Right.
So we'll see if that makes a difference going forward.
And that was like, so where do most of the requests are, like, how do they come in process wise? Are they email, phone calls, walk-ins? They just printing out, and mailing it in?
All of those things happen. Most of them are emailed to us.
Are they using our form or are they using a different form?
I'd say that's about 50-50. We get our form or we get the state required form.
That was gonna be one of my suggestions of at least creating a right to know section of the website. East Hempfield, I've been on their website recently, but they have one details that as well as links to it. So more of their stuff is text on the website as opposed to it's just a PDF that you can find somewhere. Hopefully, so the more information you give up front, it's not gonna weed 50 out, but it might weed 10 out.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff about the right to know request?
Do we track those in any sort of software?
Just a spreadsheet.
Okay, before we adjourn, I am going to announce an executive session for a personnel matter, real estate matter, and legal matters. We will have right after we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn made by second by Mark. Any other public comment on the adjournment? Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.